Welcome to Compression, the quest to $100 million in just 1 year. Join me, your host, Logan Freeman, in this one-of-a-kind interactive podcast experience where I am on a quest to compress 3 years of achievement and production into 12 months. And no, the answer is not to just work harder. I'm bringing you not only ideas and concepts that are complete at the theoretical level, but they're also effective at the applied level. Look, guys, knowledge is not power. It is potential power. Knowledge plus massive strategic action equals power. We're talking about strategy, systems, accountability, all in real time. This is Compression. Welcome back to the season-ending episode of the Compression Podcast. Jerome and I were just talking about 2021. We're sitting here on December 31st. Tomorrow is 2022. It's a pretty amazing journey that we've been on, man. And as I reflect back, and I think it's super important to do reflection. Reflection is kind of an ongoing thing that has been implemented into my routine, which I think is really important, but it's nice to zoom out at the end of the year and kind of think about all of the different things. And I was writing the year-end memo for FTW, yesterday. And if I could, I'm going to pull that up actually and just kind of talk you guys through the year-end memo, because I think what's really exciting about looking at the year is everything that you accomplish. And sometimes when you're in the moment, it's hard to see all of those things. But let me just walk you through this, Jerome. And what we accomplished this year. We purchased a 40,000 square foot office building in which we're now occupying new space in. And it's a beautiful office, and I'm super stoked about it. And I've got a putting mat in there. We've got the bullpen. We've got all of the offices in there. It's nice. It's new. It's exciting. The energy around it's really cool. We grew our core team from 3 founding partners and our chief of staff, Crystal, to a robust team of 11 core team members spanning across departments, including finance, investor relations, marketing, asset management, and admin support. We added 590 units of multifamily to our portfolio in one of the hardest times to purchase multifamily. We expanded into 2 new markets, Nebraska and Iowa. We took one of our early investments full cycle and exceeded our investor level projection returns. We created a TIC structure that can accept 1031 exchange funds alongside our syndications. We made the necessary moves to launch a boutique investment brokerage called Exchange CRE to help 1031 exchange clients in creating a marketplace. And those are just some of the high brushstrokes, man, of what happened in 1 year. That is a lot of items there to get through. One of the biggest, I think, wins through all of that is growing that core team and all of the work, the foundational work that we did, you and I here live on the Compression Podcast, going through personal and professional development, setting up systems, delegation, the focus funnel, all of those different things. And as I was reflecting on this yesterday and kind of thinking through this morning's episode, it was like, man, I tell you what, 2022 is poised to be a big year. And you said something really interesting to me. It's like, coaching and setting up kind of foundational systems. The first year is really just trying to put in place what you're talking about, right? And the real boost is kind of in that second year, man. Talk to me a little bit about that, because that hit home right when you mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time. Jeff Spencer's been doing this thing for 30 or 40 years at this point, and we did some work this year. And he's like, look, Jerome, most of your clients won't ever see it, but the reality is the work that you do in the first year really shows up in the second, because they're running so fast, because you moved all of the roadblocks and impediments out of the way in year 1. So now they can actually focus in their zone of genius and do the work that is $10,000 task, $1,000 task, instead of what they were working on with the 10, 20, $100 tasks. And I kind of paused there because lots of people want to get out at the end of the first year because they're like, yeah, I got it now, I'm feeling good. But it's like, if you can talk to them in a way where they actually see the return on investment they got in year one, and then talk about the more strategic work that can happen in year two because of what happened in year one, you can probably 10x or 20x what they get out of the year two investment. And this was when I was at a place where I questioned value, right? I think everybody
Sure.
questions value because you're like, well, this is a big expense for me when I think about everything that's going on in my world. How can I put as little in, because everybody's investors, right? How can I put as little in and get as much out of it as possible? And a big part of it is how much work you do. But the second piece is like, what problems are we actually working on?
Right.
Right. I still remember early in this year, I want to call it last year, but early in this year, I mean, we were trying to figure out stress, right? You were to the hill, you were giving up control of all these things. And in giving up that control, it made you anxious because it'd been the Logan show,
Yeah.
right? For so long. And now, we were just talking, you've got help in places that you probably never would have gotten help before because you realize that if you're doing that, which is a $10 task, you can't do the $10,000 task. And so for me, it's just super exciting to see you recap like last week's episode and just go down that list of accomplishments.
Yeah.
And, for the investment, I don't know if you can get a better return on what you put in. And that makes me smile because I've always wanted to be in space and a place where I knew I was giving more value than I ever required for the people that I was working with. And, I've been pretty vocal about seeing people who are not doing that. And it becomes very frustrating for me because one, it makes the industry look bad. I
Sure.
personally had a transition this year where I decided that I didn't feel bad about labeling myself as a coach. I know everybody's a coach these days, but there are some people who get value, they get results for people, and then there's a bunch of people who don't. And I never want to be in the bucket of people who don't. And
Right.
you can help yourself by making sure you pick up people who are going to be successful, but that level of success and making sure that they don't break in the process. Because I mean, think about trying to do what happened this year the way you used to do it
Yeah.
and what that would have done to your heart and some of the other things, right? I mean, you're down like 25 pounds, almost 30 pounds, dude.
Yeah, look at the face, man. I mean, it looks a lot different than earlier. Double chin is still there, but it's not as big.
But that weight, what I learned is, we gain weight because it's protecting us from the things in our environment. We need to bulk up so we can take those hits and those
That's right.
shots. And you're going absolutely the opposite way. More days off, more income. I used to laugh when I would hear Mark's Rubio talk, right? Because he talks about doubling your income and doubling your days off. And that's really difficult for
Yeah.
most people. But when you're charging a fee that he's charging, it's possible because those people are not doing the basic level tasks. So he's taking somebody who's, year 5, year 6 into coaching and helping them spin up to the next level, not those who are hiring their first coach or their second coach. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think that all that is very true. And what's exciting for me for this upcoming year is all of the work that we did in 21 set out to, do $100 million in commercial real estate, came up a little short, right around 90 million, still double what I did in any other year. When I think about that goal for next year, that's gross. That's that's gross. I'm looking to do 100 million net this year, which means I'm going to have to do 150 to 200 gross. So I'm working on doubling that as well for this year. And knowing that I have the systems in place that I do now and the support. I I mean, I have 3 to 4 people supporting me now. That last year at this time, it was all me. And so just simple things, scheduling, email, all of these different things that I was doing is now off my plate. It gets me super excited to see the brilliance that we can create as a team and as personal. And I think the biggest goal for me, I told Taylor this the other day, was, it's a less tangible goal, but it's an easy one to track for me, is creating positive and abundant energy and the level of feeling that I want to have every single day. And God blessed me with a beautiful day on Wednesday. I took off. We had nice weather here. I spent it with Taylor and the kids, and that energy that was created that day. That's the life that I want to have 90% of the time next year, not just one time. And I think that we've done the work to be able to create that beautiful life and enjoyment factor for 2022. Is there going to be roadblocks and challenges? Absolutely. But we had some substantial growth when it comes to being able to deal with those things in 22. So I'm really excited about that. I also have been studying a lot of year-end reports and forecasts into 22 recently. And I've got a pretty good handle on where I think commercial real estate is going to be going. And I think we're going to have another strong year in 22 as an industry whole. And there's a lot of progress to be made and a lot of goals to be hit in 22. And I'm appreciative of all of the work that all of those big firms do on those forecasts. Because I don't have to do that, which is great. I can just read them and then aggregate. But the outlook is rosy, and when the outlook's rosy for a lot of things, that sets a lot of people up for mass migration into our marketplace. And so our biggest impediment to growth is going to be continuing to find those deals with margin of safety, but also staying one step ahead of the game. And that's why you're going to see us starting to do some suburban office and neighborhood retail deals that are less competitive than the multifamily space. I'm also going to have the opportunity to sell and exit probably maybe 1,000 units this year, which is just incredible for us. So being able to add full cycle deals to the track record, big full cycle deals, gets me really, really excited to be able to add that to the track record. So the growth next year is going to look really different than this year. But it's also going to be a huge leaping stone for us, because a lot of people say, well, you're a young firm. Well, we're really kind of coming into the 2.5 to 3.5 year mark here with FTW, which is really exciting. And so if you can last that long and you can show people that you're doing the right things, that's going to create more and more infusion of capital into your business and more trust. And so we've got a lot of work to do in regards to that. But I think 22 is going to be an interesting breakout year, and I always go back to, these guys out in Phoenix, Rise 48, who I think are the only people who buy real estate in Phoenix. I feel like he's got a market domination in that space, which is exciting. But man, oh man, growing his team to 70 or 80 people and doing the whole thing. And it's because they're recycling deals. That's how you start to really grow this business, if that's the way that you want to do it. And that gets me excited for 22, because I think it's going to be a big breakout year for some exits for us, which create a lot of new opportunities as well. So one thing I wanted to chat about on this episode, man, was, when you're going into a new year, how you're thinking about setting up your goals personally, and then how you kind of direct people in regards to way they're setting their goals up, man. And I've got some thoughts on my reasoning behind why goals don't work and why people get stuck, but would love to hear kind of you personally first. Like, what is your process? So you're going into 22. How does that change year to year for you, man? Like, what are you doing in regards to saying, all right, I did my reflection, here's what I'm focused on this year. You write them down. What is your process?
Yeah, so if you don't write it down, it doesn't happen, right? There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Last week we talked about this, and I'll go back there because it truly is the framework for everything. So there's goals in every category: self-image, relationship, work, health, prosperity, and significance. And it's broken out quarterly. The but that's kind of the end result. The front piece, the lead in, is a list. It's simply a T chart.
Yeah.
More of on the left, less of on the right. And I think about the last year, and it was funny, you use words that I really like to use here. What created the positive energy in
Yeah.
my space? When did I feel the best? Right. And I want to do more of that. And I make that list, right? Is it days off? Is it international travel? What is it? And then on the right, it's less of what don't I want to do anymore? What's not serving me? What am I doing that I
Yeah.
know is keeping me from getting to that next level? Because we all know what it is. It's just a matter of whether or not we're willing to name it and do something about it. And so I make those two lists, and then I prioritize them, right? Separately. What's the most important thing? And then once I figure out what those top two or three things are in each category, I build goals in each one of those levels: self-image, relationship, work, health, prosperity, and significance, that are in alignment with that. One of the things that happened this year was I had 4 days a week where I would sit down at 9 o'clock and I couldn't get back up until after 5. And while I enjoyed the vast majority of those conversations, I realized that the amount of value that's being created wasn't commensurate with the fee. And so I made a decision that I'm going to serve less people at
Right.
a much deeper level. And it's going to cost more. Right. But their return on investment is going to be undeniable from my perspective. And, at the end of the day, what I've really had to come to terms with is I'm watching people serve folks in a way that isn't actually helping them get to their goals, right? And they are walking around disappointed because what they hoped to happen when they entered their engagement didn't happen. And I have to separate myself from that pack, because if I sit in the pack, there's no way for somebody who's on the outside to tell the difference outside of doing a ton of research. And that just, I don't want to be in that space. And
Right.
so I've made a considerable amount of investments in my own development with some of the top guys in the world, to make sure that I understood what the difference was between those who were calling themselves their coaches and those who are helping people transform.
Yeah.
So, personally, that's where my space is. It's simply focused on serving people at a higher level, serving a smaller group of people, and really locking in on those who I think have the ability to 100x over, say, 3 to 5 years, versus those who are just trying to double, right? Because if we can do that, those folks are going to be the ones touching tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. And at the end of my career, when I'm in my 70s and, I'm all gray, I want to be talking to those people because we went on this amazing journey, and I'm there for them for all of that journey. I'm watching their kids grow up. That's where I want to be, man.
Yeah.
Just that strategic advisor for folks. More time and travel for me is going to be a big one. We've been boxed up with COVID for so long, and I want to do that travel with the people that I care most about, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's people that I'm advising, those people who, we have personal relationships. And I don't even know how the two don't blend with the way that I do what I do, right?
Right.
I was talking to a lady earlier this week. She was like, I'm over time. Why are you still here? I said, because I care. You know what I mean? Like, we're trying to solve this thing that's a really big deal for you. And that was part of the thing that I realized this year, Logan, is, fortunately, we record at a time where if we need to go over, we can. The only thing that stops us is the kids waking up. But if I have to cut the call because the next person's waiting, am I really servicing that person at the level that I want to? And for me, the answer was no.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's the game, man, for me. But anyway, back to your original question, more of, less of, figuring out what those things are that really top 3, top 5 things that really gave life, and then figure out how to do more of that.
Yeah.
And build your goals around it.
That's beautiful, man. You know, I think about the definition of a goal, you know, and some people say it's when you score in soccer, and they're right. You know, that's just not our definition of a goal for this this scenario. Another definition is the object of a person's ambition or effort, you know, and Napoleon Hill said a goal is simply a dream with a deadline. And I always ask people, you know, how many of you set up goals at the beginning of the year, or just whenever? How many of you write them down? How many of you review them daily? You know, accountability. I remember when I was going through the stuff this year, I went back to my why episode on the compression podcast, saved it, and I listened to it every single morning for 60 days straight. To try to reconnect to why I'm doing what I'm doing, because the going is going to get tough. 2 reasons that I think people don't stick to their goals: lack of clarity and no system for accountability. And the lack of clarity piece, man, is so important. So many people just go from the loudest to the latest and just kind of running around and doing all of these things. But yeah, and also the piece around, you know, if you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there. You know, you got to have a map. You got to have a massive action plan, a map, and you got to have the GPS that we've talked so much about here. And even if I don't review that GPS every single day, the work that I did doing that is where the goal is created. And I think goals are great. As a matter of fact, I think they're incredible, but only when you actually achieve them. And my favorite quote around this is Dwight D. Eisenhower: "Plans are worthless, but planning is everything." I think, though, what he meant is there's a very great distinction between, you know, because when you're planning for life, you must realize that life is unexpected. Therefore, it's not going to happen the way that you expected it to. But going through that planning process gives you the clarity to stay on track. And that's so important, man. And so, you know, when I go through these strategic planning sessions, I start with a blank canvas. As I read through all of those prompts and questions and think through them, it's like a picture that's beginning to be painted, and I can start to see all of those brushstrokes that I've been making that are starting to become something beautiful. And that is where the clarity comes from me. And I think that's the single most important tool you can use to capture is clarity. It all starts with your mission statement that is in tune with your values, that's backed up with strong reasons and paired with strategic behaviors and habits. And, you know, that's a simple model of psychology that has gone through the decades. And so going through that annual vision and planning process, then identifying the quarterly goals, and then your daily journal coupled with your accountability, which is now my power list for me every single day, is so important. And you know, there's so many things that I am working on a regular basis that I've had to come to terms with. Okay, you know, there's a lot of different initiatives out there and things that I have to do. What is the 5 that I can get done today that's going to create that W? And I've got my team, my direct reports, doing that on a regular basis as well. That's creating clarity for them because I can redirect, and that's how I'm delegating through that process, right? Is 3 levels of delegation. You know, you got your objective, subjective, I think, or no, objective, directive, and leadership. And I'm trying to operate more in that leadership space, right? And you know, they'll get there. But this directive and objective delegation has been a game changer, and it has accountability baked in because you look at the previous day and say, was it a win or not? And we use Slack to do that every single day with my direct reports. And man, I tell you what, you know, it takes some time to do every single day, but you can know that what you've set out and to accomplish is being prioritized. I think that's so important. So, you know, those are all tools that we learned this year, and tools that have gone into implementation mode with us. But for me, thinking through that and actually being able to think through that on a daily basis and say, these are the 5 things, everything else, I can worry about at a different day. These 5 are going to move the needle. That's gives me the confidence knowing that the system is on, man, to be successful. And that's just like the last 35 or 40 days that we've been implementing that. And I've seen huge changes in communication. And so, for me this year is bringing that abundant, beautiful energy into my life, but also is using leverage through people, which is something that is a new lever that I get to kind of pull on and use this year. Obviously, we have technology and capital that we use leverage for as well. And I've implemented that too with Monday and Slack and all the different pieces of the puzzle there. So, man, I just tell you what, just the systemization of life going forward is really creating more margin in the calendar for me to be able to actually go execute on really top initiatives. And I mean, when I think about 22, the possibilities are endless. What's going to, the one piece of the whole puzzle that is going to be crucial is can I and will I stay committed to the process? I know the answer for myself is absolutely yes, because I want to become better. But now being able to actually push that stuff off and know that it's getting worked on and being done, and I'm operating in a different space than I was last year, and we still accomplish what we did this year, gets me really excited for 2022. So,
yeah, there's 2 big things that I've watched happen that we haven't really talked about, but I think it's really important. One, you took more time off and you didn't feel guilty about it.
yeah,
You always say, faith, family, but you actually lived it out this year, right? Sometimes we cheat a little bit, right? We say we're spending time with the family, but really we're reading emails on the phone, or
right.
we're not actually present. We're just not mentally anyway. We're physically there, but mentally we're somewhere else. And I think that as where you are in life with, a 3-year-old and Z-Man down there, he's running now.
Yeah.
I remember that dude he wasn't even crawling yet.
Yeah. He's a little baby boy.
Right. And just where you are and being able to be available, being able to run over to water parks and do other stuff like that. Like, I think every dad who doesn't have the gift of being able to hang out with their kids and truly wants to be with their kids is envious of that, dude. So, it allows you to set a great example for folks who are trying to figure that out, either ahead of you or behind you. And I think the other thing that really jumped out was just your confidence in knowing that it was going to work out, even if it wasn't all by your own effort.
Yeah.
In the past, I got to do it, right? Give me the ball. Give me the ball. I got it. Yeah. And it's very much a cleaner's mentality.
Mm-hmm.
But, when we started talking about being a compressor, that next level, I think that's what a next level player does. They elevate everybody's game and get them to do things that they couldn't have done on their own. So
that's right. Yeah. Playing from the whistle from the whistle to the snap, not the snap to the whistle. Right.
Yeah. So it just thought it'd be important to point those out, because it's so often we can just get so focused on the thing, right? The whatever the North Star is. And that's kind of the other piece of the goal setting, right? Wow, you've got your yearly goals. These yearly goals should be part of your annual plan for whatever 5 or 10 years out is, right? And you're just checking the boxes trying to get to that North Star. Some people it's freedom, whatever you decide that thing is. But you lose. What's the point in having, there's some crazy yachts right here. I can see them, right?
Yeah.
What's the point in having a yacht if you don't have anybody to enjoy the yacht with
Mm-hmm.
you, or the mansion or whatever it is that you aspire to, going on the trip? If you don't have great company, then it all becomes for nothing.
Yeah.
And, you know, we get so caught up in accomplishments and achievements that we forget that having the family and the other things are accomplishments and achievements.
Yeah. Totally, man. Well, it's been an incredible year. I just want to say thank you to all the listeners that have followed along throughout this whole journey. Our one goal for this was to hope to show, you know, what can be accomplished through intentional accountability, planning, and strategic work. And now we've got a year long worth of episodes going up and down, talking about certain things one month and actually getting them implemented the next month. You know, where I think compression goes, and we talked a little bit about this. We have a acronym for a compressor, and my goal is to try to bring folks on that embody each one of those values for 2022 and interview them and have some short episodes around how I think about those each of those pieces as well. And so I think that would be a really cool way to think about continuing the compression podcast in a go forward basis. I'm not putting any pressure on myself to have that done at any time, because we've got other big initiatives that are going on, and it'd be more of a learning experience for me, and I want to enjoy it. And so if it becomes a thing that I'm not enjoying doing, I'm trying to find time to do it, no thank you. But this is something I look forward to every single week that we were doing this year, and I've got to create that in my own headspace, and also know that I need to be creating value for the listeners. But you know, this podcast made 2 top lists this year, you know, alongside some really great episodes or some really great shows. And so that means that there was value in what we did. And if you just listen to the year-long trajectory, you know, you're going to get a master lesson in business and in life. And I think there's value in that too. But what's exciting for me is all the folks that have reached out and just kind of said, hey, you touched my life in this way, in a positive way this year. That's really exciting for us and for this show, man. So I just want to say thank you for showing up every single week and knocking this thing out, going through this journey together. 22 is going to be incredible. I hope it's incredible for everybody else out there as well. You know, one thing we've always mentioned is that, you know, your life is a direct reflection of the choices that you make, and wherever you're at in life, you can start to make better choices and better decisions and get your trajectory where you want it to go. Always be focused on your trajectory, not necessarily your current positioning, or you won't ever take that first step. And, you know, have a happy new year. You know, you're going to listen to this after the new year, but we're going to bring in 2022 today and tonight with a bang. I won't see it. I'll be asleep when 2022 comes, so I won't be up cracking the champagne at midnight this year, just because it's a new year for me already. And, you know, it's an ongoing thing, and I don't stay up that late because I'm going to be up at 4:00 tomorrow morning, no matter what, anyways, you know, getting back to work while everybody else is sleeping in. Don't forget that in 2020, I got 27 days on folks. I got more days this year too. And, you just got to know that the real hustlers, the real compressors are out there are actually getting things done before you even wake up. And I think that's really the antithesis of what people are willing to do. I saw Elon Musk's post a tweet or something the other day as a picture. He said, people are still calling me lucky, even though I've worked for 10 years, 7 days out of the week, 16 hours out of the day. And that's not a lie, man. You know, that's not a lie. He's probably one of the wealthiest guys in the world, you know, and applying leverage and things like that. But it's true. You know, it doesn't just happen. You have to be intentional about this growth journey that we're on. So anyways, I'm going to wrap it up, man. That was a hell of a year. I mean, I look at where we're at this time last year, where we're at now. Compression wasn't even launched yet, man, which is just incredible. So it's a beautiful journey, man. I hope you have a great new year as well, brother. Any closing thoughts for the listeners, man, about this year?
Your dreams should be real, man.
Yeah.
And if this isn't proof that it's possible, I got nothing.
Yeah, your dreams should be real. So Thanks again, everybody, for listening in. Stay tuned for what's next on this journey that we're on. I'm excited about it. We've got a lot of fun things that we're going to be working on. But go enjoy your last day of the year. Pat yourself on the back if you did it right. Don't pat yourself on the back if you did it wrong. Feel that pain and don't let it happen again. Jerome, thank you so much, brother.
Out.
Hey, compressors, if something you heard struck you, made you feel a little bit uncomfortable, good. Head on over to compressionpodcast.com. And then you can also subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast at. If you feel inclined to, please leave us a review. It's obviously helpful. But instead, I'm going to call you out today. I'm going to call you out and make sure that you do your part, sharing this message by sharing it with one person that might need to hear what we talked about today. Be great. Nothing else pays.